Okay. Welcome to the City of Pinole Planning Commission regular meeting on Monday, February 27th at 7 p.m. If you wish to attend the meeting, you may do that in several ways. You may do that in person, or you may tune in to Channel 26 on the city's website. You may also attend via Zoom, and you can connect on your computer. ID code is 865-0537-5301. And via Zoom, you may also connect via the phone, and that would be phone number 669-900-6833. If you have none of these options available to you, Mr. Hannum, who is our planning manager, you can also access him via email, and that is at dhanham@ci.pinole.ca.us. So thank you for being here tonight. Let's see, we'll deal with appeals afterwards. Then let's go ahead and have our call to order.
Okay, so we'll go to Pledge of Allegiance and call to order, Pledge of Allegiance. And
Yes.
all right, so we all stand for the Pledge of
Oh, I'm sorry, roll call is afterwards.
Yeah.
We will,
I wasn't sure.
we will call this to order, and please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Ohlone people, who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Ohlone elders, past, present, and future, who call this place Ohlone land, the land that Pinole sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue their tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Ohlone community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. Planning Manager Hannum, may we have the roll call?
Sure. Commissioner Menes?
Here.
Commissioner Benzuli is absent. Commissioner Current?
Here.
Commissioner Benuelos, absent. Vice Chair Martinez?
Here.
Chair Moriarty?
Present.
We have a quorum of 4 tonight, so we can take actions on all the items we have on the agenda.
Great, thank you very much. Planning Manager Hannum, do we have any citizens to be heard?
Not at this time, and nor do I have any emails.
Right. Chair, I do see someone online with the phone number ending in 5748.
Okay, then you may address the Planning Commission. You have a 5-minute limit. We cannot take any action on the matter that you bring to us, but please.
Okay, great. Person with phone number ending in 5748, please press *6 to unmute. Oh, it looks like you are unmuted right now. Okay, great. Would you please state your name as well?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, my name's Anthony, and I'm a long-time resident, homeowner, taxpayer in the city of Pinole over 40 years. I had a couple items I'd like to present to the public as well as the commission and staff tonight. One is that on the reopening of the new fire station, or the old new fire station 74, I believe, coming up shortly. I think the city should look at doing some housekeeping work in and around that neighborhood, particularly 2 items. One item is where they're going to use the school parking lots across the street, Ellerhurst School. several months ago, they took down about 12 trees, and I want to know if they got a permit from the city of Pinole, a tree replacement permit, or a request to cut those trees down, number one, because we like to keep our trees, and some of them I don't think had to be cut down. They were going to be replaced, but the debris that was left over from PG&E or the school district or the city of Pinole Public Works Department is not a good sight. There's big tree branches and limbs all along the fence sidewalk parkway on the school side property that someone left behind, and the city has a reputation of doing that, like behind the caretaker's house. They chop down the trees, they take away some of the branches within a few hours, and then they leave, and then they don't come back to finish the job. So there's no checks and balances there by the city of Pinole Public Works Department or the Code Enforcement Department to have those people be held accountable for cleaning up their mess or our mess. And now it's a public eyesore and a black eye for the city of Pinole when they're going to have the supervisor, John Joya, there and some other people, and someone's going to say, what's all those trees along the schoolyard there? Not to mention, you know, kids can climb in them and get cut up and so on. I mean, there are huge tree branches and trunks on the side of up and down Pinole Valley Road right across from the fire station. And the second point related to that, which I think they should remediate before the big reopening program at the new station, is up along that Adobe Road where a lot of people are going to go to want to park there, and they're going to want to use the public bathroom there. And the public bathroom, the ladies' room, closest to the unstriped parking lot, I may add, that the city never striped out when they tried to blacktop the side of that, half of that road there in an unprofessional manner. The restroom is all broken down. Someone knocked over, some vandals or somebody jumped the curb or knocked it over with their car or truck or a sledgehammer. They knocked down the whole front entryway of the ladies' bathroom. The city of Pinole came by a week later and they put up 2 signs, horses there with yellow tape, closing off the ladies' bathroom, blocking it up. They didn't bring any portable by, and that's been going on for 2 or 3 months now with no public restroom. Well, if it was at the city hall or Fernandez Park or some other place out in the open, they'd probably have the public works department there within a couple of weeks to either put a porta potty there or start fixing the front entryway or grinding down the sidewalk curb so people can use the restroom inside. Not to mention the doors on both bathrooms have been jimmied over the last several months. There's no caretaker in the caretaker's house, and the locks, automated locks they paid thousands of dollars for in our parks, none of them work in the men's or ladies' bathroom. So that needs to be addressed as well before they have that big shindig there. And I might add, it's not a renovated firehouse. It's just a reopening of the old firehouse, as Assistant City Manager made the comment the other night at one of the commission meetings, that it was a renovated fire station. I don't think they did too much to renovate that. And then secondly, I guess I also wanted to ask the commission if they can look into what happened to the garbage cans that were supposed to be put out around the dog park area, the recyclable garbage bins. And they're in storage somewhere, and to clean up the dog park and Adobe Road before that big fire station reopening program coming up. It's either this Saturday or next Saturday. I can't recall which one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any?
I'll have to follow up with the Public Works Director to see what's going on out there. If it's on the school property, there's not a whole lot we can do about that. It's their property. We don't have any jurisdiction on their property, so I'd have to check out to see where the trees were when they got pulled or that.
Well, he's talking about all the Monterey pines that were all along there. I'm sure that was as thinking of a danger kind of thing. But as far as cleaning up the debris, I don't think they're completed with it. But I don't know if it's going to be finished before the reopening of the fire station. But regardless, if you could have
follow up. We'll follow
just
up
a follow up.
Yeah.
So that, and then the restrooms, the dog park, and the garbage cans, which are all out there too. So
I'll follow up with the Public Works Department.
thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much.
Yes, if I may make a comment. First of all, Anthony, I think I really appreciate your comments. It's good to keep the city us aware of what's going on. But going back to the trees, I'm kind of learning that that a lot of tree trimmers that are dealing in the city really aren't aware of the tree ordinance and the need to get a permit to cut down protected trees. And a lot of the people I've talked to about the that are doing this aren't aware that Monterey pines over a certain size are protected. So it might behoove us to for the code enforcer to maybe write letters to all of the tree cutters that are doing business in Pinole and reminding them of the tree ordinance and giving them a copy of that, and emphasizing to them that permits are required if you're cutting down a protected tree, and that would include cleaning up the debris.
Right.
Thank you. Any other comments? Vice Chair Martinez? No? Okay. Great. And do we have anyone else then?
There's no one else online.
Great, thank you. All right, then we will move on to the looking at the meeting minutes from February 13th, 2023. I know that Commissioner Menes has got a couple of things to bring to our attention, and then we'll check and see if we have anybody else.
Thank you, Chair Moriarty. So I want to point out two changes I'd like to see made in the minutes, one typographical, one more substantial. I'll start with the typographical one. On page 18 of the minutes, line 24 under communications, it says Commissioner Menus reported, and I'm pretty sure my name is spelled with an I, not a U, so that should be corrected there.
You have a driver's license to prove that?
Yep. Also, the way it's spelled every other time it's used in the rest of the document. I figure it's a typo, it's not a huge deal, but I would like it to be changed in the final version. And the second thing is a bit more substantial. On page 10, line 14, talking about my comments with regards to the council deciding not to mandate citywide electrification. And what I actually said was, as a result, when projects came before a planning commission, there have been requests for the applicants to voluntarily consider applying REACH codes, which had not been supported. And what's written there is there had been a request for the city council to voluntarily consider REACH codes. And I think that's substantially different in meaning from what I said, so I'd like that to be corrected.
Go ahead and give us the language that you want there.
Well, we'll go back into the recording and go back to the video and see what he said, and then we'll go. That's how we usually do that.
Okay.
So that way
Right. We don't have access to the video yet, so I can't cross-reference it. I'm just going off of what I remembered actually saying.
You're right, and what and when we make the motion, just say and the changes is once we get to that point, and then we'll go back and we'll make the changes.
Right.
Okay.
So the changes I'd like to see is just have city council struck and replaced with applicants. That's the main thing.
Okay. Applicants. Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Current,
Nothing.
Vice Chair Martinez.
Nothing.
Okay, and I don't have anything there in addition. So do I have a motion then to accept the minutes as potentially amended depending upon the video for the page 10, line 14?
I'll make a motion to accept the minute meetings with the aforementioned changes.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Let's,
Commissioner Menace,
Aye.
Commissioner Current,
Aye.
Vice Chair Martinez,
Aye.
Chair Moriarty.
aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Great, thank you. Okay, then let's move to Section E, public hearings. The public hearing for this part right here, we will read the description of the item and then listen to a staff presentation, and then that will have a chance for the Planning Commission to speak with staff regarding the presentation, and then we will open the public hearing. So if you wish to participate in that public hearing, please make sure that you are prepared to do so. So this public hearing is a conditional use permit, CUP 23-01 for body rhythm massage therapy. It is a consideration of a conditional use permit to open that massage therapy business. Planning Manager Hannum.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dave, you go to the slideshow for me, please. So basically, the property is located at 1685 San Pablo Avenue. It is going to be in Suite A of that building, and as Dave will come up with it, it's owned by Miss Grace Serpa at Walnut Creek, and the applicant is Miss. I'm using her name is Cindy Hu. Right, and she's with us in the audience tonight. The planning application is a conditional use permit. It is the total area of the parcel is about 10,715 square feet, and the tenant space is approximately 1,100 to 1,100 square feet. The property has a general plan land use designation of mixed use service area. The specific plan sub area is the San Pablo Avenue mixed use sub area, and the zoning is a commercial mixed use. As part of the review authority, as for a conditional use permit, the Planning Commission for Section 17.10060 has the authority to approve conditional use permits and the Environmental Quality Act, California Environmental Quality Act, which is, we're looking at a notice of exemption. So the request tonight is for Cindy is seeking an approval for a conditional use permit to establish a massage therapy business within a tenant space in the existing building located at 1685 San Pablo Avenue, Suite A. Pursuant to the zoning table, Pinole Municipal Code, the Planning Commission has the authority to review and approve the request for the conditional use permit. And we'll just go for the project specifics. The project is approximately, property I've already said is 10,000 square feet. Tenant space is approximately 1,000 square feet. The project has a mixed use sub area, general plan land use, and of course it's zoned for CMU, or commercial mixed use CMU. If you go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So it just kind of gives you the project location again, kind of gives you an idea. It's right at the corner of Smith and San Pablo, on the west corner of that intersection, southwest intersection. If you go to the next slide, please. And again, the 3-corridor specific plan, which is again a mixed use sub area. And if you go to the next slide, please. And of course, the zoning ordinance is, as you can see, is CMU. So the property to the west of the property is the San Pablo Avenue and the Pinole Hearing Aid Center, Mia Beauty and World Phones. Those the businesses that's to the north. To the west of the building, we have the APN liquor store, which is the corner of APN and San Pablo. To the south, we have the Pine Avenue and single-family residential uses, as well as to the east, we have Smith Avenue, which has some single-family residential uses. Although the property is zoned CMU, most of those uses are residential in nature. So basically, the project description in terms of the project, the body rhythm massage therapy project consists of establishing a professional massage therapy at 1685 San Pablo. The business, the body rhythm massage therapy business, will include treatments on parts of the human body for therapeutic, touching, rubbing, pressing, stroking, kneading, tapping, pounding, vibrating, all sorts of massage therapy type of things, manipulation of stimulation of his hands or feet, and potentially there's a space for an acupuncturist if one is necessary. However, at this time, that is not being proposed. And if they were to do that, the conditional use permit, if you approve the conditional use permit, they would be allowed to do that. However, they have to go through the other statutory requirements that we're going to go through later tonight, with which Cindy has to go through. So each person needs to go through that. The hours of operation, Monday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. The business owner may expand the business in the future and hire additional massage therapists and or acupunctural therapists based on customers' requests. Hours of operation are anticipated to remain the same. However, the business owner may submit proposed changes to the planning manager for consideration prior to changes as identified in the conditions of approval of attachment A. Because in most cases they go through the permit process, which we'll go through, which is an administrative process. It's not a discretionary process with the planning commission. And we'll kind of go through that later in the presentation. If you go to over the years, at the building, there's been a number of different uses for this building. They've had wellness center there. They've had just professional offices. They've had massage therapy centers as well as chiropractic services over the course of the life of the building. So it's been a natural under current requirements within the three-corridor specific plan. This is personal services restricted. That's what's identified use and it requires a conditional use permit. The use is also reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission pursuant to the Pinole Municipal Code. The proposed use requested under this conditional use permit is located within an existing building and occupies approximately 1,100 square feet of vacant tenant space. There are a couple of massage therapy establishments in the city of Pinole. There's U Massage Therapy, approximately 2 miles west of the site. There's a Reno Spa and Acne Clinic, which is approximately 1.5 miles to the east of the site. There were a couple of businesses that I didn't get the name of that are within probably a couple miles, 2 or 3 miles of the site along San Pablo. There's a lot of massage therapy or sports clinics or wellness or spas, day spas, those types of businesses. But this is strictly massage therapy. It's not like a day spa or anything of that nature. So to kind of just go through the land use a little bit, and the zone. Well, I'm going to kind of go through this. I'm going to skip to the zoning. The land use is pretty general in nature. I've identified different land use goals and policies that basically allow for businesses along the San Pablo corridor to be there as a mixed use of businesses throughout. If you have questions about those, I'll be happy to answer those. But it's the zoning that's a little different because they're in the specific plan. The personal services restricted, which includes massage parlors and those, is required to do a conditional use permit. However, as defined in our zoning code, the use is defined as personal services, which is actually permitted within the. However, because the specific plan is the leading document, that is why the CUP is required. However, it still requires that Ms. Hu go through the operator permit process through the municipal code, because that also regulates massage therapy and massage things as well. So even though it's a permitted use within the zoning ordinance, it is a conditional use permit, but they still have to go through the requirements of 8.32 and 17.66, which we'll get to here in just a second. So I just want to kind of clarify that, because there are two zonings there. And in most cases, we refer to if it's within the specific plan corridor, of course, then we refer to the specific plan. If under the so basically, if you go to the next slide, please. If you can go to the next slide. So this kind of gives you where, the personal service restricted, the personal services establishments, which includes, this is just through the specific plan, so it includes tattooing, massage parlors, similar services. It requires a CUP. So if you go to the next slide, And this is a zoning ordinance definition. And so basically under massage therapy establishment, that's what it is. It's under the CMU. It is a permitted use. However, it has a note, and those notes are see additional regulations for massage therapy in Chapter 17.6 and Chapter 8.32. And then, of course, the definition of massage therapy establishment is a state-certified massage establishment where each owner and each employee that provides massage is a certified massage practitioner. If you go to the next slide, please. So those are the conditional use permit findings that we have for the conditional use permit. Those are our standard findings that we've had, and we'll discuss those in just a second. Actually, we'll discuss them right now. In terms of conditional use permit findings, the proposed use is consistent with the general plan, any specific plan, and all applicable provisions of this title. Based on the conditional use permit is in the approval permits. A conditional use permit, the use would be allowed. It's not a no. It's not permitted. The establishment, maintenance, or operation of the use supply will not, under the circumstances of the particular case, location, size, design, and operating characteristics, to be determined or to be detrimental to the health and safety, peace, morale, comfort, or general welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood of such use, or to the general welfare of the city. The use is within an enclosed building. It's within an existing building. It's had these services at one time or another over the course of the history of the building. Staff determined that finding has been met. There's no modification of the building on the exterior. It's all within the existing tenant spaces that are available there. So. And at this point, there's only one person working at the business, which is our applicant. So there's only one massage therapist there. The site of the proposed use is physically suitable for the type and density and intensity. It is. It's existing. She has more than enough tenant space to occupy for her business. Staff determined that finding has been met. And D, that it will not be contrary to the specific intent clauses, development regulations, or performance standards established for the zoning district which is located, and that the proposed use and related structures are compatible with other land uses, transportation, and service facilities in the vicinity. This building has a parking lot on actually both sides of it, and the business is not proposing to alter any of that or to alter the building itself. So the building meets all the development standards that are established as part of the zoning code. So at this point, staff determined that this finding had been met. So if we go to the next slide, please. So this is part of the special standards that are required per 17.66 in the massage therapy requirement. Basically, it requires that certifications required by all employees must be certified. Cindy is certified. She does have her state license and certificates, and she must maintain those as well throughout the course of her business. They can't expire. She has to maintain those. She will be posting those permits, and then since she doesn't have anybody except for herself, but anybody that does shall operate under any name or conduct his or her business under any designated. So she can't change names or do anything of that nature. So it's one permit, one business, one person type thing. So if she brings in additional massage therapy therapists, they have to have their own certificates, their own. They can't work under Cindy's. They can't work under Cindy's certificates. They have to have all of their own. So if you go to the next slide, please. So I didn't go into all the codes, but these are all the requirements that have to be identified as part of Chapter 8.32. These are all just the headings. I didn't go into all of them. Right, I would have had about 6 or 7 slides, but I did want to show each of the headings to kind of give you an idea of what is required as a part of this business. It's pretty strenuous in that regard. They are required to have basically an establishment registration certificate or operator permit. It also must have, and it talks about having an operator's permit. So it has all the regulations and required. If you go through the zoning code, there's approximately under each one of those is at least 8 to 10 requirements that are needed. Name of business, all sorts of stuff. And it goes into from 8.321 goes through the revocation. So if there are issues with the business, there are revocation clauses that would allow for to come through and to revoke either the conditional use permit, business license, suspension of the license, or that. So they are required to have a business license. There are some exemptions, and of course, violations, a misdemeanor, and a nuisance. So it's a pretty stringent process that she's go through. This is an administrative process. This is not a discretionary process, but this is what she's required to do as part of the zoning code. So and she's gone through that. She's done all of that and has submitted all that. She's also submitted her background checks to the police department, and she had a clean record from there, and we have those already as part of that. And so, if you go to the next slide, please. I think that might be the last one. The last one, yeah. Okay. So that's kind of what we're doing here. The project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. It's an existing use, or it's a small building. It's exempt, and staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution 2302 or 2301, approving a conditional use permit. 2302, conditionally approving Body Rhythm Massage located at 1685 San Pablo Avenue. And if you have any questions of staff, I'll be happy to answer those questions. And the applicant is here when you open the public hearing. So,
just to confirm, you mean conditional use permit 2301?
Yeah, 2301. Yes. Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you very much for that. And also for the background as far as why this is a conditional use permitted use. And so it's unfortunate that it would have to be that way. And so thank you for going to all of the work to make your business a well-run business or a well-established business. So questions for staff. Let's go ahead and start with Commissioner Current.
Yes, actually, I did have some questions which you addressed. And the parking lot on both sides is, I know the liquor stores there on the side that's, I guess, to the left.
Yeah, it's
where between where the liquor store is. What is it? 4 or 5 spots that are adjacent to the 162085 building belong to that building, and then the other ones belong to the liquor store.
Yeah. Well, actually, if you I have the map up. The parking, they have parking on each side. The liquor store actually has their own parking on the corner. So the parking spaces that are on what would be on the west side of the building are basically for both uses and then the parking lot on the east is all for the 1685 San Pablo Avenue. So that's. And
if there were extra employees, who would these of the city would review the certification requirements? Would that be you?
That'd be the planning manager. It'd be approved by the community development. I would take in all the information, put the report together, send it to the community development director as well as the police department for background checks. And because they're a part of that as well. So the permit operator isn't defined in the code. However, in most cases, it usually falls on community development to start that process and be the coordinator of that process, and actually goes to the police department to get the reviews and fire department for the reviews, and then puts it all together. And if everything is okay and they've met all the requirements, then we would issue an operator's permit.
Okay, great. That's all I had. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Let's go to Commissioner Menes.
All right, so I have a few different questions here.
Okay.
First off, I was looking through the relevant section of the municipal code, the 8.32, so that seemed to be where most of the nuts and bolts of how the city interacts with massage therapy establishments are implemented. And also, I should probably note that, as I usually do, I sent out an ex parte notice to the people on my email list about this meeting happening and what was going to be discussed at it.
Okay.
Since this is a public hearing item, figured this would be the appropriate time to mention that.
Okay.
Didn't hear anything back from anybody or anything like that. So first off, 8.32.080 talks about the inspector to have the right to enter an establishment without a warrant to make reasonable inspection, so on and so forth. Who is the inspector for the purposes of that?
It's the building inspector and the fire marshal. So it's kind of like it's a combo. It's either one of those could be considered the inspector.
Okay. And in the years that the city's had various massage therapy businesses active, have any of them had issues with falling within the numerous requirements listed at 8.32.090? I mean, there's the hour of operations, which is reasonable, and then you've got
it's
substantial clothing requirements, limitations on who could be there, what services could be offered, where clothing needs to be, the physical layout of the facilities, locks, lighting, the precise type of tables.
Yeah, it's pretty extensive. At this point, all of the establishments were established before I got here. So they've all, I don't know, we're going through, in fact, we're going through that right now to see who has operator permits and who doesn't. And that there could be some, because this code was adopted in 2010. So if there are establishments that were before that and they're not necessarily, they don't necessarily have it now. So unless they, stop use and go somewhere else, then they would have to go through that process again. But if they've established the same business, it's the same everything from 2010, then they're kind of exempt from that. But a lot of them have come in somewhere in the neighborhoods of like 2012, 2015, so they should have gone through that process. And so we're verifying that all of them have gone through the process. If not, then they'll definitely have to go through the operator's permit process and the other process for the registration of the practitioners.
Just if I can clarify here, as I mentioned earlier before the meeting, I've been here for 16 years.
Yeah.
I do not recall a previous massage parlor or massage business going before the planning commission.
Really? Okay.
And I would just add, it's possible too that, if they're in a zone where perhaps this use was permitted, they wouldn't need to come to the planning commission for a use permit, and so you wouldn't see the operator side of it. That would happen
Right.
all behind the scenes, staff level. One thing just for background, there was a period of time where the state sort of took over licensing of all massage establishments. And that's where they created the California, the CATC. So there was there may be a gap where that occurred too. They should now be getting the city licenses, but that could be why some of them didn't come before you as well.
Great.
Right.
Okay, so the reason I asked was just to see, whether there were general issues leading into my questions about page 6 of the staff memo talking about the required finding B, the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the use applied for will not, under the circumstances of a particular case, be detrimental to the health, safety, peace, morals, comfort, or general welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood of such use, or to the general welfare of the city, which sounds like basically a blight consideration. Right. And it sounds like a lot of the requirements under 8.32.090 are intended to prevent potential blight issues linked to improper use. And so that's why I wanted to check to see whether that had been an issue in the past with other businesses. And finally, I guess my final question is, has the Pinole Police Department run into any particular issues with other businesses along those lines?
Yeah, that was one of my, when we did when they did the background check for Cindy, I did ask the police department, and they haven't had any issues with the massage therapy, the massage therapists, not necessarily massage parlors, but for anyone who was performing massage therapy through the practices with the state certificates, haven't had an issue.
Okay, I'm just a little bit more nervous about potential blight issues because it'd be right next to the Appian liquor store. There's more entities in one area.
Right.
So I just wanted to be sure on that. So, not necessarily any moral issues at all. Just saying, if there were problems generated in
Right.
past uses, that'd be something we want to know about when making that finding. Since there aren't, it's not a problem.
Right.
And that's all my questions for the moment.
All right.
Great, thank you. Vice Chair Martinez.
Thank you, Chair Moriarty. I guess the only item, and I've used that building for years with the various owners that have had services in the building, so I'm quite familiar with it because it's pretty close to where I live. Mm-hmm. The only item I'd like to see as far as approving the conditional use permit is that I would like to make sure that we do not have any neon signs that would be facing any of the streets or any of the other buildings for this particular business. I'd like to see that as part of the approval, if we do proceed with that, we just require that any sign be reviewed by the planning manager and that we ensure that it is not a neon sign. And that would be the only item that I can see that we need to address. Thank you.
And just for clarification, condition number 3,
Right.
which is signage, stipulates that the conditional use permit does not constitute an approval for any signage associated with the use. Separate permits modifications shall be submitted and approved prior to the installation of any signage. So there is a condition that we will be reviewing their signage prior to it going up. So
then, if everyone else is in agreement, I just want to confirm that that a specific note would be made for not having neon signs there. Is that what you're requesting?
Yes, Chair Moriarty, that it would be one of the requirements I'd like to see.
And we can make that requirement?
Yeah, we could modify condition of approval 3 to add that as a requirement that, a separate application shall be submitted and approved prior to installation of any signage, and no neon sign shall be allowed.
Okay. Before I make any comments we have here, let's just think about that one right there. We can discuss it, afterwards, or we can discuss it now.
Probably more appropriate afterwards.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about that too, because then we'll have a presentation, and if she would like to address that, then you can do that. Okay, so we'll look at that, and remind me, Vice Chair Martinez, if we forget. Okay.
I'll be sure to. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I actually don't have any other comments that were brought up. It seems it's in the building that's been used for similar things in the past. And if all of the boxes have been checked as far as the background and all that needs to be done, then that's great. I think then that I don't have any comments at this time. So why don't we, then any other comments from any other commissioners as far as asking staff? No? Okay. Then let's go ahead and open the public hearing. And Ms. Hu, if you would like to step to the front, if you have anything to make a presentation. Go ahead and step right back to right behind you to the microphone. There you go. Thank you.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Thank you, guys. My name is Xin Gu. Everybody call me Cindy. I'm a professional masseuse. I have some experience to working for the doctor. The doctor is a pain management. Yeah, I worked for them a couple of years. I have twice the certificate. The 20 years ago, I have a certificate, but expired really. So before another renew, right now I want to start a business that need to renew that. Doesn't work. So I go to school again. So I get twice to school for the 2000 21. Yeah, I go to school again. I got a certificate. I do the massage job for almost 20 years. Something like more experience, but I still need to learn. I want to be better and the best. For example, I go to Richmond Senior Center exercise. I'm like a teacher, the senior to the exercise. But 5 years ago, I do something wrong. I broken my foot is broken the tendon. I just choose somebody, the masseuse. I do by myself too. Really big problem before, but I now go to surgery just do the massage. Right now I'm good. Right now I can do the exercise again. For my mind, if you do the massage, you have to be more strong. Yeah, have to be strong. So that's why I do exercise 20 years, more than 20 years to exercise. I do some Tai Chi. I just want to be, more strong. Also, if I have more healthy, I can give my customer a good therapy. So I try to be best. I try to be good. So please give me chance. Let me do. I want to. A lot of people helped me before. I want to return for our country. I want to be returned to people before really not good for me, nice to me. I want to return for our government also. Please give me a chance. Let me do it. I want to try to be best.
Great. Thank you very much, Ms. Gu, for your presentation. Do we have any questions? Go ahead, Commissioner Current.
Yeah, I'm going to take a little from Frankie here. We had talked about maybe not having neon lights. Is that something you're comfortable with?
Yeah, I know my English is not really good, so yeah, pretty comfortable. I feel pretty good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
Commissioner Menes?
I don't have any questions for the applicant. I think that was a fine presentation.
Great. And Vice Chair Martinez?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, great. My only question is that you are asking for Monday through Sunday, 9 to 9?
Yes.
And is that just to accommodate different? Why? It seems like that's a pretty extensive time.
For me, sometimes the customer, from my experience, a lot of customers, like construction people, sometimes they go whole day to work. They sometimes want to go to earlier, after massage, go to work. Somebody's, after work, they want to do the massage. That's why I want to be more longer the time for my customer. So I know I have a lot of construction people, a lot of problem. So I know somebody is just like a pain. They follow me some customer follow me almost 20 years. The problem for they do some, the pain, the work, they also like the same, the back is really hurt. So they call me always at nighttime because daytime I have to work. So that's why I want to be working for longer for the time.
Okay, so to have the option to be able to come in, because I see that you actually live in Concord?
I live Concord, yes.
Yeah, okay, so that's a bit of a commute, so to come in for a couple of...
Yeah, and you know what, if I can I do a lot of, I still do the exercise for the Richmond Senior Center. So I have a lot of students, a lot of, somebody live nearby. I just talk to somebody, and she want to borrow the one room for me. She have here, she live in Pinole. Now maybe I live come with, her have bigger house. I can rent one room for me. Yeah, so I just plan to do that way.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
Basically, she was saying is that she has somebody that lives in Pinole, so if she needs to have a room to stay, she can like stay the night or something like that.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Great. So you don't have to drive all the way back to
Right,
Concord, right?
Yeah.
If you're there. Okay. All right. That was just my thinking about the hours and wondering about that. But yeah, it seems like you have a lot of training and a lot of experience, and
Yes.
I hope that you can bring your clientele here, and that Pinole will serve you well. So thank you very much, Ms. Gu. And are there any other comments then before we open?
I'll just make the comment about the hours. I think you know me well enough to know that would like to have the hours be more than less, just to give the flexibility for the business. So I am not troubled by the hours. And
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it, but it's just an extended thing, and if we're thinking about that, so great. Okay, then yes, Commissioner
Yeah,
Minnis?
I guess my comment with the hours is that, they're within the limits established by the municipal code, and they end well before the hard end limit, which would be the main thing I'd be worried about. If the end time is 9, this stuff's going to finish up well before 10, so there shouldn't be a problem there. And it seems reasonable that the applicant's going to want flexibility depending on when clients are going to actually want to have massages done. So I don't have any problem with that.
Great, okay. Then let's go ahead and open it up to the public. Do we have any?
Justin, do you have anybody online?
Yes, I do see one person online, a person with the phone number ending in 5748. I believe this might be Anthony again. You can speak right now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I'd just like to ask a couple questions and a couple comments around the recommendation by one of your commissioners regarding signage or lighting stipulations, neon lights, etc., etc. Before you people get carried away jumping on the bandwagon with Mr. Martinez's comments against that new business of Pinole, I would like to ask the city attorney, if not one of the commissioners, what is the current signage code stipulation for retail operators in and around the city of Pinole as it stands? Because you're kind of like setting a double standard here if you honor special guidelines or make special guidelines and use that as a voting point to discriminate against this new business. There are other businesses in Pinole and surrounding cities that have neon signs. They're in their windows. They might be facing the sidewalk or the street, but that's, part of doing business in and around any city nowadays. Case in point, Hughes Massage Salon, which I've, and I know some people that like that place next to the, across the street from the Pear Street Bistro in that little strip mall next to the Korean restaurant. They have a neon signage saying open for business in their front window, and it faces the parking lot. They even go as far as several other businesses there and legally or illegally put up big signage horses all over the sidewalk and driveway there in that parking lot. So I think we ought to, look at what's going on now in our own backyard or in your own closet before you start making major stipulations for one little new business to come into or not come into the city of Pinole. Case in point, beauty salons have massage therapists in them. They put out neon signs. Chiropractors, there's one major chiropractor that has big signage on his windows and front door and big neon marquees. In Trader Joe's shopping center parking lot, in a chiropractic massage therapy salon. There's Eclipse hair cutting and beauty salons in El Sobrani that do the same thing. There's acupuncture salons, that do similar things like that. So could you explain what the code is? And if we're going to try to keep the city on a straight type of precedent or program, why can't we just look at cleaning up what the existing salons and businesses are doing by putting up neon signs facing the street and big horse things obstructing sidewalks and driveways and things like that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Do we have any other comments?
Okay, no, there are no other comments online.
Okay, then let's see. I guess the applicant wouldn't necessarily make a response to that, right? But we can close the public hearing and then discuss
Yes.
that, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so let's close that hearing and,
So Pinole Municipal Code Chapter 17.52 lays out, pretty extensive requirements for different types of signs. There is not a prohibition in that chapter on neon signs, and that's the standard that applies citywide. Off the top of my head, I don't know if the specific plan has any restrictions on neon signs. I don't believe it does.
Not a big
While those are the standards that apply citywide and they can't do something more than that, it would not be unusual or improper for the commission to add a condition. Those conditions are part of what help you make the findings that you're required to make about, this not, that Dave laid out earlier. It's up to you whether you think it's, appropriate or not for different businesses to have different regulations, but that's very common that some CUPs allow this business to have different hours of operation than others because the commission is evaluating each business individually based on its type of business and its location and the potential impacts of those two things. So it would be completely appropriate and allowable if the commission decides it wants to do that.
okay, great, thank you. Then anything else that you have to add to that?
Yeah, I just want to say in regards to the A-frame signs, and that's what he was referring to, there are a lot of regulations regarding A-frame signs, and we're working with the businesses in the downtown on their A-frame signs and what they're supposed to be doing. So we're working through with code enforcement on some of those, and we'll be working with businesses to getting them more information on what's allowed in regards to the A-frames.
Great, and consistency with the code then?
Yes.
Yeah, great, okay.
So yeah, I've got some follow-up questions about that because I was looking through the lighting subsection 17.46, and it's got two bits of it that are sort of seem to be a little bit in conflict. One bit under 17.46.040 says that neon under prohibited lighting says neon tubing or band lighting along buildings and or structures as articulation is prohibited flat out. And then separately, it's under 17.46.050 just says there's exemption for signs. It basically says lighting shall be in compliance with the signs chapter. So does that mean that basically the provisions of the lighting chapter don't apply to signs, or?
Well, that's what the signs are for. Yes, the sign code is signs are governed by the sign code, and the neon prohibition, as you said, is really about along buildings articulation, not the signs themselves, which is subject to the sign code.
Okay, I just wanted to get that cleared up because it seemed like there were sort of two different things interacting there. So good to know it's all within the signs code. And you already cleared up that part earlier. Thanks.
Vice Chair Martinez, do you want to speak more to this then?
So I guess the way the business has traditionally been there, Chair, is that they, to my knowledge, Nature's Paradise that had been in there for I think like the last 10 plus years, they never had any neon signs in there. So in keeping with that same feel of the building that's in that area, and bearing in mind that we have residential right on the back side of it, I'm trying to make sure that we keep that same look and feel that's always been there for the last 10 plus years. So that's kind of where that came from. And I guess if we could get to a point where on San Pablo Avenue, we did clean it up and get all of the signs to have a more uniform look and feel, that's a benefit to the community. And so that's where the blight part of this comes in, is if we have those neon signs, it's going to start changing the look and the feel of that area with that residential community right behind it. Whereas some of the other areas that were mentioned, the massage place next to the Korean restaurant on Fernandez Park, that is adjacent to a park and San Pablo. So there's really not any residential homes around there per se.
Okay, so your concern is more with the residential area and then maintaining that area as the way it's been in the past.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone have any response to that or thoughts?
Yeah, I understand what Anthony's saying, and I also understand what Frankie's saying. I think maybe if we limit any neon signs that are facing residential areas, because if there's a sign, because it is facing San Pablo Avenue and there's not residential across the street from this establishment, maybe if we just limit neon signs to the front of the building and not to the side, I think that would sort of satisfies everybody's requirements.
Okay, go ahead.
I think one possible way that we might be able to do this is I noticed right above the sign segment of lighting code, there was also a segment 5 talking about light trespass, saying about illumination measured at the nearest residential structure or rear yard setback line shall not exceed the moon's potential ambient illumination of 1/10 foot candle. So I know that because it's a sign, it's not necessarily covered by that requirement, but maybe if we sort of, and of course, Zeke, attorney can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but if we could incorporate a similar requirement saying, like the effect of illumination on signs on residential areas won't exceed that particular segment of the code, would that be something we could have in a condition, or would that be sort of warping the code beyond what we could reasonably do?
Yes, I mean, we could put that in a condition. I guess maybe I'm not quite understanding. If it's part of the code requirement, the illumination limitations, that would already apply to the...
Sure, the reason why I asked was because you just said that the signs basically had their own set of requirements separate from the lighting code.
Got it, you're saying the light.
And this is a requirement of a lighting code right above where it talks about signs, section 5 instead of section 6. So I was wondering if we could take that requirement and sort of import it into the sign condition for this one case.
Yeah, I mean, there are brightness, like in terms of signs and brightness, there are requirements in the sign code that require that they can only,
Right.
1 candle foot, or they can only reach out a certain amount. So there are lighting requirements as part of the sign code.
They just aren't a prohibition on neon signs.
Right.
And neon, it's hard. You have to buy a sign and to get a sign, if you're going to get it, to make sure it's got the right amount of lighting and such like that. Yeah.
Right, I think it's just that it seems like the main problem we're concerned with is sort of the problem that subsection 5 was addressing, basically making sure there's not light trespass on the nearby residential areas.
Right.
So I figure if we have the condition saying basically there isn't going to be light shed by the sign on residential areas above a certain low threshold, then you could have the sign somewhere else, and as long as the light doesn't reach those areas, it wouldn't be a problem. That's sort of my thinking on this, but I could be completely wrong, so that's why I'm bringing it up.
I mean, we would review when the sign application is, we review the brightness of the sign, where it's projecting and all that. If we think that, depending on the brightness of the sign, we'll also require the applicant to do a what we call a photo matrix to see where the signs, impact comes to the edge of the property line, because they can't leave the edge of the property line. So
And just that, there are sign illumination requirements in Chapter 17.52.100. So, like, external light sources shall be directed and shielded to limit direct illumination of an object other than the sign. The light from an illuminated sign shall not be of an intensity or brightness that will create glare or other negative impacts on residential properties in direct line of sight of the sign.
So that's already there.
Yeah, that's
Right.
already there.
So we don't
yeah.
have to include that. So that the question is what it sounds like is the question is do we want to request that there be no neon signs at all, or that we just make a request, or not make a request, but put it in the conditional use permit that there be no encroachment on, or no signs that are affecting residential areas, which is already kind of addressed there. So, so I'm wondering if we need to make a change to that at all then, Vice Chair Martinez?
I'm agreeable to go with what the commission as a whole feels that we should do regarding it. It's just, as I explained before, Nature's Paradise, it's been there forever. They didn't have any neon signs at all. And so the look and feel, I just want to make sure that we're being respectful of the community that lives around there. So if there's a way of reducing, falling within our current code, reducing the amount of, or putting the requirements in there so that if there is a sign that's going to come in there one day, that it doesn't impact that neighborhood and the folks that are currently living there.
I think something we may put in there is that any illuminated signage shall be approved by the planning director with special consideration for any impact on the residential area.
And we can add that in there. I mean, it already is, because any sign is going to have to go to the planning manager anyway. So
what we could do is just say at the end of approved plans to the installation of any signage consistent with section 17.52 of the Pinole Municipal Code, so that then we've covered it, and we know what code we're looking. Everyone knows what code we're looking at. So if that's all right.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, sounds
does that
good
sound
to me.
good? Okay.
Perfect.
Great. Then
Thank you.
then basically, just to be totally clear, I mean, you'll obviously go over this with the applicant, that if you do plan on putting on a neon sign anywhere on your part of the building, that has to be permitted through the planning department. So that's all, and then that will be taken care of there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
I mean, it sounds like you're bringing your own clientele with you, opening it there. You're not going to need to be having your shining, blinking, which is what we're trying to avoid, right? The shining, blinking,
Exactly.
horrible.
And I'll be there. Rest assured, I'll be there.
Okay, right. Okay, good. So anyway, then, as far as other discussion, that was pretty much the only thing that was brought up, and then we've made this little amendment to number 3. Anything else then that we need to address? Parking, we've talked about the parking. Anything else there? Hours of operation, Monday through Sunday, 9 to 9. You've got that there. Commissioner Menace?
Sure. Condition number 6, schedule modification talks about an expansion of classes. I think that might be a carryover for the dance studio we last approved. I'm not sure if it applies here.
Well, we just wanted to make sure that increase the number of days per week. We wanted to make sure that to include if it does expand, that we have the ability to bring it back to the because if I read 6, it says schedule modification, any extension of classes. That should be, instead of classes, it should be any extension of appointments or services.
Right.
Yeah.
Because classes just doesn't seem like it fits there. That was the main thing.
Probably services is the best word.
Yeah.
And then I'm just taking a quick look over the other conditions to make sure there's not anything else. Yeah, no, that was it. We've already talked over the changes we want to make to condition number 3, I think it was, and I'm fine with the rest of it.
Anything else from any of the other commissioners then? Okay, then let's go ahead, and we need a motion to approve.
Okay. I will make a motion to approve the application, which is, let me see where it is down.
Right, that's always the hard part.
Yeah, where is it?
Conditional use permit application 2301.
Yeah.
Yeah, application 2301 with the changes to conditions of approval, number 3, where we add the phrase that any signage must conform to section 17.52 of the zoning code, and also modifying or changing condition number 6 to read any expansions of services instead of classes that extend past the operating hours. And with those 2 changes, that I recommend approval of the motion before us.
Thank you, Commissioner Current. Do we have a second?
I'd like to make a minor friendly modification. I think that we can also strike the increase the number of days per week segment of number 6, because it's already going to be operating 7 days per week in its hours of operations given. So that is a necessary clause.
It could, but we don't know in the future whether there may be a change. I mean,
Calendar?
Yeah, you never know. I mean, they changed the Gregorian calendar to the,
I think we can strike that without a problem. Okay, and then with that, then you get to second it.
And then
Okay.
I'll second it with that modification.
Okay.
Okay, well, I have to agree to that, which, since I made the motion, which I do.
Okay. All right, then let's go ahead and we'll call for
Call for the vote.
vote.
Okay. Commissioner Jimenez,
Aye.
Commissioner Current,
Aye.
Vice Chair Martinez,
Aye.
Chair Moriarty.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Okay, congratulations. Thank you
Thank you.
much, Ms.
Yeah.
Ms. Gu.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Pinole.
Okay.
Okay.
I try to be best of the job of return, guys. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yep, we look forward to, like Vice Chair Martinez said, he'll probably be your first customer here,
Oh,
your first client.
I try to be best the one for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And don't forget to read the appeal process.
Right, thank you. If there's anybody who does have an appeal, right?
Yeah. I think it's in the,
Right, so any person may appeal this action of the Planning Commission or the Planning Manager by filing an appeal with the City Clerk. Within 10 days of such action, following the public hearing, the City Council may act to confirm, modify, or reverse the action of the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission may act to confirm, modify, or reverse the action of the Planning Manager. The cost to appeal a decision is $500 and a minimum $2,500 deposit fee. Thank you. All right. Then, you're free to go. Yes. Or you may stay if you want. We have no old business. We have no new business. Do we have any reports from the planning manager?
I just have a couple of things. Just in the next couple of months, we'll have another couple of conditional use permits coming forward to the commission. One located at 730 San Pablo. as part of the Cortez Auto Body, they're looking to add a paint booth to that business, and as part of the conditions, they were to come back to us to do that. So that'll be moving forward. 912 Belmont we're looking to do a parcel map, and that should be coming to you. They're splitting the lot in two, from one lot to two lots. So that should be coming to you as well here in the next couple months. Pinole Shores you'll see Pinole Shores 2 probably at the end of next month, end of March. So we're finalizing some traffic studies on that, getting that squared away. And then I think that's all I have right now for tonight. But if you have any questions on anything, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions? Okay. Any commissioner reports? Okay, then let's move on to communications. Any communications?
There are no communications, but I did want to bring up to the commission that we are interviewing for our planning commissioner this week, I think on Wednesday, for one of the spots, and we're still advertising for the other two positions as well. So just to keep you updated on what's going on with that. And I wanted to remind you of the joint meeting on March 28th between City Council and the Planning Commission. So,
If we have the meeting on the 28th, does that mean we will not have a planning commission meeting on the 27th?
no, we probably will have a Planning Commission meeting on the 27th. That'll probably be Pinole Shores too. So, yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to do two meetings. We're going to get the most meetings out of you as we can these next couple months.
Okay.
And that's towards the end of the tenure here, Dave. So,
Yeah, I know.
We're going to get
Gonna
everything
whack
we
it
can out of you, Commissioner Kern. You're good to go.
Yeah, could you also please address the change in attendance policy for here, and also address the attendance policy of what the general policy is for expectations of commissioners' attendance?
Okay, I'll have to bring that back to you unless Alex has the code right there. But.
No, it's not in the code. It's in the bylaws, I believe, and I just don't have a copy
Okay.
of those. In front of
So
me.
we'll get you a copy of I'll put that under like communications or under old business or on the agenda for the next meeting, so that you guys have that regarding attendance and what the obligations for a planning commissioner in terms of meeting. The other issue was regarding all of you being here in public. That will be at the next meeting. However, if you have issues, I know Frankie, it's hard for you to get here. You'll need to submit something for us, or I'll work with Alex because he's got problems getting here right now.
Yeah, so their meetings will be in person, and there's only extremely minimal. There's two ways to participate remotely, either through the traditional Brown Act process, which means wherever you're participating from has to be noticed on the agenda and has to be open to the public. So that means, for example, if you're participating from home, your address needs to be on the agenda, and anyone who wants to participate needs to be able to go into your house and participate from there. And you also need to post the agenda, on the front door. So that's one option. The other option is that a new law went into effect this year, AB 2449, and it allows you to participate remotely when you have just cause or an emergency circumstance. And let me just tell you right now what those are, just so you know. So just cause means a child care or caregiving need of a child, parent, grandparent, or grandchild, a contagious illness, a need related to physical or mental disability, or travel while on official business for a public agency. And you can only have just cause twice per year to participate remotely. There's also emergency circumstances, which means a physical or family medical emergency that prevents you from attending in person. And combined, you can only miss 20% of the regular meeting. Participate remotely through one of those means 20% of the meetings. And just as one thing to add, if you want to participate through emergency circumstances, you have to, well, if you want to participate using either of these, you're going to need to disclose any adults that are in the room with you. And then also, if you're participating through emergency circumstances, you're going to have to give a brief description of what those circumstances are, and the commission's going to have to vote to allow you to participate that way. So, very narrow circumstances, I'd say, in general, of when you can participate remotely now.
That's pretty significant, and that's a big change.
Well, that
going from-
20% of the meetings?
Yeah,
And
no
rules
more than
to-
20% of the meetings. So, I mean, if we had all 24 meetings a year, that would be 2. Because once you get to
4.
right. If we had all 24, yes. It would be 4 meetings, 20% of the regular meetings. So,
Okay. All right, then.
Chair, I do see a hand raised in the online chat.
Okay. Well, then we should accept that. I think that goes to, because if it's on communications, that is a public,
That's fine. We can listen
they
to
can say it. Okay.
Okay, great. I believe this is Anthony again. Yes, please feel free to unmute.
Hello, this is Anthony. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Good. I guess I was just taken aback a little bit. I had problem getting to talk to the planning director's comments, but to expand or ask about his report, can he advise, or the commission advise the public what's really going on at the APN Tower Hills Safeway build-out project? Because there's several rumors floating around that the merger with the one of the big grocery chains acquisition or buyout of the Albertson Safeway chain might affect that, as well as the latest rumor that the property owner there has sold or left the project. So who is the new property owner there, and how would those two things affect the project and the permitting moving forward or moving backward to move forward? And are we still looking at the same timeline, which I think was something about a July or August groundbreaking over there for this year to put in that Safeway project? And that being said, if all those things are going by the wayside, maybe it'd be a good time to reopen public comment or have a town hall meeting regarding the future of the traffic situation that new shopping center is going to bring about with the build out of the doctor's hospital property, the problems we're having with the school and the pedestrians and drivers across the street, and the safety, as well as the build out of the Kmart Fitzgerald Drive property. I think we should be more proactive in that regard with some kind of a report or update for the foreseeable future. And secondly, has there been a new landscaping plan that has been approved, by the city council or the planning commission for Pinole Valley Road and other places? Because I've noticed somewhat more recently that they had planted some shrubberies, about maybe a dozen tiny 1-quart size red shrubberies on just certain parts of Pinole Valley Road, as well as they stuck these tiny little ugly double-faced reflectors in here and there sporadically throughout the city. And so what is that about? Is that to take the place of the light bulbs that can't be switched out or the light poles that can't be replaced, as well as the what's the situation on repairing and fixing the walkover bridge on Appian Way with that big aluminum support beam that goes across the freeway on Appian Way that's been there now for several years. Could we please get an update on that, as well as the housekeeping thing? We need to have more public access or better public access again with posting on the Zoom screen banner, the meeting telephone number, the web ID access number, not just a public announcement before the meeting, but before any agenda items or public comment items throughout the meeting, off and on. But no, there's none of that. And I don't know, it's going to take a rocket scientist or somebody in a high pay grade to get that implemented in the planning commission meetings, the city council meetings, and what have you moving forward. And I think it's the indirect violation of the Brown Act to not give the viewing public full access and ability to call in. So then you question how come so few people want to participate or call in sometimes, because either they can't find the numbers or that some of their issues and questions and problems that face the city aren't being addressed. Case in point. Thank you very much and appreciate your support. Bye.
So do we need to respond to those right now, or we can respond to those at our next meeting, correct?
Well, I wouldn't mind hearing about the update on the Appian project, the Pinole Square, I guess that's what it's called, Appian Square.
Right. I can give a brief update. The property, the original property owner, Hillsborough Property, sold the property to Balboa Properties, and that's gone through. The entitlement is still active until June of this year, June or July of this year, based on the extension that was given by the council at the last year. So that's still technically intact. Whether or not Balboa is going to follow through with that entitlement, they're still working out their ideas and their plans, or whether or not they have different plans. They are currently negotiating with Safeway. They have a good relationship with Safeway. They haven't finalized any deals, at least to my knowledge. However, they are continuing to work with them and keep Safeway here. I mean, they've been here for 60 years now, and so they want to continue that relationship with Safeway. But that's all we really know right now. So we're working with them and trying to stay in contact with them. They're almost 90 days out from that. Once they're like 90 days out, they'll get a letter from us basically stating that, based on those, you've got 90 days to, extend or you have 90 days to act on your permit, or else the entitlements will go away. Whether they're willing to do that or not, they haven't said. So we're kind of in limbo as well. Regarding all the traffic studies have been done for all those projects, and improvements will be put in as part of those projects. But if those entitlements at Appian or Pinole Square, Appian 80 go away, then they would have to come back and go through the design review process all over again, and with a different project or the same project, depending on what they want to do with that project. So that's kind of where that's at.
And knowing that traffic is always an issue that we need to be proactive on and think about going forward. So,
yep.
Okay, then our next Planning Commission meeting is March 13th at 7 p.m., and this meeting is now adjourned.